coming to you live today from New York City, and we're talking about and getting reactions about the recent murder of Jeffrey Dahmer, the serial killer, murdered just last week in a Wisconsin prison, allegedly by another inmate. It seems as if many people are thinking about the victims' families at a time like this, but Jeffrey Dahmer, we must remember, also had a family that loved him very much, despite all the revelations that even surprised them in that courtroom. Joining us now is Jeffrey's father, Lionel, and his stepmother, Shari, and we're happy that both of you decided to come back on our show. Thank you very much. How are you dealing with this, the murder of your own son?
We're getting a lot of support from people in general, from Shari. This is where I derive my strength, from Shari and from God. And when I heard about this at work, Shari had phoned me, and I just reacted with numbness, and I started making sounds that were hardly intelligible, sobbing, and Shari phoned another extension and got Hal and Craig to be with me, my office mates, and I just couldn't believe that he was dead. We were going to visit him this coming weekend.
Shari, what was your reaction?
I received the phone call from a prison official stating that Jeff had been injured and he was on his way to the hospital. I was standing at my kitchen sink doing dishes, and I felt in my heart that he was gone. I didn't sense his presence. Then I received the phone call a short time later saying that he had died, in fact.
Was this something you might have feared all along, that there would be retaliation?
We always thought that there would be a possibility of something happening to Jeff in prison, and he felt so also. And I think I was lulled somewhat after that first attack by the razor blade in July by this other person. I was lulled by a statement made by a chaplain there saying that it was going to really be tight now. They're really going to watch. And the first reaction I felt when I heard about Jeff's death was just guilt. I mean, I felt like I should have called the prison officials and just sort of periodically ask them, what are you doing, how is security, and so forth. And I didn't. I was really lulled by that statement, and so was Roy Ratcliffe, I believe, the minister who baptized Jeff into Christ recently.
I know that Rita had told one of our producers, Rita being the sister of one of the victims, had gotten some mysterious phone calls. She thought from prison inmates who were saying, everything's going to be taken care of. It seems as if there had been, based upon that, some type of plot heading toward that.
I don't know. All I know is that it couldn't have been done by one person. I mean, I feel that in my heart. An investigation's still going on, and I haven't gotten any information really of any substance or extent.
So everything's allegation at this point and suspicion. When you say Jeffrey Dahmer has been killed in prison, it seems for most folk it's an applause. It's good. I'm glad. He deserved it. When you hear those things, what does that do to you, to your heart? You're one of the few, I will say, who is not applauding.
Well, you know, I feel their pain much more deeply now even than when I sat in the courtroom during his trial in 1991. I heard everything for the first time there, and now that my son is gone, I can even feel more deeply what they're feeling. But one of my first reactions after guilt was anger after hearing that Jeff was killed and the way that he was killed. I felt anger and frustration because in the past year he has worked with a minister there, and all I can say is if people really want an objective opinion as to what we're all about and what Jeff was all about in the last year, I would ask them to contact Teresa, not the one that called from Pennsylvania, but the one in Milwaukee, who has become our dear friend.
What do you say to the families? If they're listening to the show now, people who knew these victims, people who are in such pain over such gruesome murders, what do you say to those people now?
I sympathize tremendously and deeply with. I feel that loss. I feel that terrible, empty gut feeling. I have it now. I know that they had it and still have it. But I felt also it was really a waste. I mean, in the last year, I don't know if you saw a headline recently, I think it was in USA Today, it said Jeff got had a death wish and he didn't have the gumption to do it, something like that. Well, that was true back about a year and a half ago. He secreted a razor blade into the cell, and he really did, I believe, would have the gumption to have done it.
And the reason he
but
didn't?
here's the main point. He has really has believed and been baptized into Christ. He really was walking the walk in the past year and a half, and I felt it was it's a waste.
Okay.
But he's safe now, I feel.
When we come back, there was the attorneys and the victims and a reaction from the audience. When we come back, we'll get your reaction to that, and also the talk about money, how these families are going to be compensated for their pain. We'll be back in just a minute.
Blame is sitting right across from you. That's the only person. Not parents, not society, not pornography. I mean, those are just excuses.